Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody here who's joining us here on the program this evening, this afternoon. Guys, this is star date 7/15/2025. Captain's log, star date 7/15/2025. Welcome everybody to our program. Yes, I want to start with a little levity because many times throughout our programs it gets serious. Yes, it's going to get serious today. One, we're going to talk about what happened to Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi for that matter. And second, we're going to be talking about earthquakes globally, worldwide, the San Andreas Fault, Southern California earthquakes, and also some big earthquakes on the New Madrid Fault today. I'm not talking huge, I'm talking small, 3.0, 3.5, 4.0s on the New Madrid Fault today. The New Madrid Fault is active. I've told you that. I've also promised you that I would tell you when we have some good sized earthquakes on the New Madrid Fault. I've always told you that. When I was first starting this program, people asked about the New Madrid Fault. I've talked about that many times. When I first started on this program, there was nothing happening on the New Madrid Fault at all. Not a thing. But things have changed. About 3 years ago, things started to change. Okay? Up until 3 years ago, all we had were microquakes and tremors. Nothing more, nothing less. Microquakes and tremors on the New Madrid. Now, since 3 years ago, we started having not just tremors, but minor earthquakes as well. 2.0 to 2.9 quakes. Now we have full-blown 3.0 to 3.9 small earthquakes, and upwards of 4.0, 4.5 earthquakes on the New Madrid Fault. That's happening. That's happening now. Okay, I'm going to show you diagrams showing you what's going on. I want to welcome everybody here. Juanito's here. My friend Juanito, our friend Juanito's here from El Centro, California. I'm so glad to welcome him here. He's part of this tonight, guys. Juanito's part of this. Juanito lives in El Centro down in Imperial County, Southern California. He's very much aware of what's going on, and he's feeling these earthquakes. Today in El Centro, we're going to show you a seismogram showing at least 10 to 15 3.0 large earthquakes in El Centro today. Welcome, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Ring of Light Crafts is here. C is here. Catherine Sigerson from Saskatchewan, Canada is here. Demon Catman, our moderator from the east of England, is here. Welcome, Demon Catman. We want to welcome you here and thank you for being here. Demon Catman's become a very dear friend of mine, and I appreciate him being here. Jennifer is here. Thank you for being here, Jen. Appreciate you. Richard Smith from Nova Scotia, Canada is here. Guess what? Earthquakes are hitting over in Nova Scotia and eastern Canada as well. They're just minor tremors and earthquakes, but they're minor. Minor, guys. Nothing big, only minor. Heidi Petrick is here. Thank you for being here. Heidi, we appreciate you ever so much. God bless you for being here. Now, guys, a lot is happening. I'm hoping to get a lot more people here on our chat before we get started here. I want to ask everybody, however, I want to ask everybody that's here, and Pickering's here as well. Thank you for being here. Now, guys, if you appreciate what we're doing here, please give us a thumbs up. It will be greatly appreciated. Also, make sure you're still subscribed to this channel. YouTube keeps unsubscribing people all the time. Again, 7 people I've caught today, 7 people have been unsubscribed from our program since we spoke last night. Unreal. So please make sure you're still subscribed to this channel. If you're not, please subscribe, and right next to this subscription button, there is another little button that's called a bell icon, a tiny bell icon. Click on that bell icon. When you click on that bell icon, 3 a drop-down menu of 3 items is going to pop up. When you see that drop-down menu, click on the word ALL, all. That should get you notified when we come on there. Be advised. Be advised. YouTube does not notify everybody when we come on the air either. They don't do it. They say they're going to do, but they don't do it. But be advised again. Okay, we come on the air between 4 and 5 o'clock, and occasionally it might be later than that when things are happening, and I'm trying to get you the latest details about what's going on. Okay, I want to make sure everybody is realizing that. Okay, I don't need that oxygen right now, so I'm going to take it off. Yes, I have supplementary oxygen available here in my home because when I was a police officer, I was involved in some fisticuffs on the street. Yes, we arrested a lot of people, a lot. Okay. Now, I did not make arrests of people that did not belong in jail. I don't believe in that. If people don't belong in jail, don't want to put them there. So I don't arrest them. I try to talk it out with them. And then if they don't give me any other option, then we arrest them. Okay. I'm not one of those idiot cops on the street. We fired a bunch of those idiots that were in my department. Got them fired. I don't believe in that. Hurricane Heather's here in our chat. Hurricane Heather lives up near Mount Shasta, California. She's nursing a sick puppy dog. It's not really a puppy, it's a bigger dog though. We call it a sick pup because one, Heather calls it a pup, and I also call even my senior dogs puppy dogs. They're just that. I love my dogs. I really do. I love your dog, Heather. God bless you for that. Take care of him, give him a blessing, and tell the Lord that you love him and that you want to have him healed. And that will happen. Okay? Now, guys, some other things going on. I told you I'd talk first about what's happening with Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino has returned to work. Dan Bongino has returned to work. Now, there was a possibility last Friday. He did not come into work at all. That's because of Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States. President Trump appointed Pam Bondi to be the Attorney General the end of last February. Now, other things have happened. Okay. Matt Gaetz, who is President Trump's first pick for Attorney General, decided after he saw things happen with the Democrats trying to take him down, he decided to withdraw his nomination for Attorney General. And then President Trump appointed Pam Bondi. She went through her Senate hearings and got just not nominated, but got appointed as Attorney General by President Trump. Then things have gone on. President Trump got every one of his nominations approved through the Senate, grilling Senate nominations. The Democrat communists tried to take his cabinet down. They failed. They utterly failed. But when this event started happening with Pam Bondi last Friday, during the weekend, Matt Gaetz from Florida, the same man that President Trump first nominated for Attorney General, was summoned to the White House. Matt Gaetz was summoned to the White House. We don't know why yet, but Pam Bondi might be on her way out. Why? How could that happen? Because in August, once the Senate goes in recess for the summer, President Trump could appoint Matt Gaetz as the Attorney General recess appointment. He would get away with that because the Senate would not have to approve him, and he would not have to go through the horrible Democrat Communist Party grilling by the Senate. If he gets appointed under the recess appointment, he'll be there for a while. Okay? So that's what's happening with Dan Bongino. He's still the deputy director of the FBI. Kash Patel also threatened to resign over the Pam Bondi event. Kash Patel has decided to stick it out, at least for a while, as a director of the FBI. Pam Bondi might be on her way out, however, because there's a reason that President Trump summoned Matt Gaetz to the White House. We shall see what happens. Now, Benny Johnson. Some of you might know who Benny Johnson is. He's at the White House today. He did his show from the White House earlier today. He interviewed a bunch of congressmen, including one, I believe he's from Tennessee. He built a skateboard. Yes, he built a skateboard for the Director of Intelligence. Isn't that interesting? He rides skateboards himself and built a skateboard for the Director of Intelligence. Unreal. Also, one of the congressmen that he had there was a chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He talked about that as well. Also, he had another person who's also on the Senate Judiciary Committee and several other committees in the Senate. Unreal. A senator from Utah. Some of you might recognize his name. He was also interviewed by Benny Johnson this morning. Great interview. I urge you all to go to Benny Johnson's channel and hear those interviews from earlier today. They're great. That was a great program today. Okay. Yes, Wilson says Gates could be a special prosecutor as well. You're right. President Trump could appoint him as a special prosecutor to go after quite a few people, including Comey. Remember the former director of the FBI and what he did earlier? Arranging a bunch of shells on a beach. What did he do? 8647. Get rid of 47. 86 means get rid of. Police talk, we talk about 86ing somebody, getting rid of somebody. Not killing them, but getting rid of them. In present talk, restaurants always talk about getting rid of a plate of food because it might be bad, or it might become contaminated, or for any reason the people didn't want the plate. They call it 86 it. In this case, Comey knew better. Comey knew better. He knew exactly what 86 meant. And he said allegedly that his wife told him to take pictures of the shell arrangement. He said he did not put them there on the beach. But we all know he did. We all knew he did. Not just Comey, but many other people in the Biden White House. Many people in the Biden cabinet are going to be brought up on charges, criminal charges at that. Now, there's something else in the Biden White House that has happened, okay? During the past 5 or 6 days, it's come to everybody. Everybody commonly knew the information, but now it's come to light that President Biden did not use the auto pen himself. He did not authorize anybody to use the auto pen to give comeuppance from prison sentences. He did not give pardons to anybody. Yes, he said he did for some people, but he did not. He was not even near the White House. He was out on the beach in the Virgin Islands when something would happen. Was nowhere near the White House to give any kind of direction. And one of the people that operated the auto pen came forth and said that she was authorized. She was authorized to do the pardons for Joe Biden. But he was nowhere around. Incredible. Incredible. That's happened. Those people will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. They should never been given pardons, including somebody else that you might know. Dr. Fauci, the same Dr. Fauci that tried to lock all of us down in 2020, 2021, 2022 time period. Tried to lock us all down and accomplished it. Then he's also part of the conspiracy with someone else, Bill Gates. Okay? First, he helped develop the disease, COVID. He was part of it. He was part of it. He even spent the National Institute of Health money to help develop COVID. Then it was spread worldwide after the Chinese New Year, when Chinese people from around the world converged on China. They were exposed to the COVID virus. Then they went worldwide all over the place, spreading the virus. Fauci was part of that. But Fauci was also part of the vaccine. Yes, a vaccine. That wonderful stick, that wonderful jab. He and Bill Gates helped develop it. They developed it 3 years ahead of the COVID vaccine or COVID disease. They knew it was going to happen. They knew it was going to happen. Even Bill Gates. Bill Gates not just developed the virus vaccine, but he also holds a patent on it. Incredible. All of these people are going to come and be prosecuted. They're going to come and be prosecuted, guys. It's unreal. Unreal. Anyway, besides that, I'm going to leave the politics now, and I want to talk specifically about what's going on in the Pacific Northwest first. Then we'll go down to Southern California after that. I've got a slide here showing a satellite photo of Mount Rainier. These are all tremors here. These are all tremors that have hit Mount Rainier today. They continue hitting, but it's not just tremors that are hitting Mount Rainier. Heidi Petrick just said a 1.18 tremor hit 4 miles east-southeast of Mossy Rock, Washington. Yes, they continue to hit. That's far enough away from Mount Rainier to even not be considered as an earthquake of Mount Rainier. Completely separate. But these are the quakes, the tremors that have hit Mount Rainier, and it shows them at the summit. They're actually below the summit. They're actually below the summit. Some of them are a quarter mile deep, others are an eighth of a mile deep. Now, I explained this partially last night. I'm going to explain it again. These tremors here are right below the ice cap glacier. Right below the ice cap glacier at the summit of the volcano. These tremors that you see here may actually be the ice melting. The ice melting. And water flow at the summit of the volcano. Water flow at the summit of the volcano. But what I'm going to show you now, is very much present at the volcano today. Let me show you the seismogram from Mount Rainier today. This is incriminating. Okay? Look at this. Look at this, guys. You need to understand what this is. Okay? This seismogram is at Mount Rainier. This is Camp Sherman at Mount Rainier. Camp Sherman is over on the north side of the volcano. The upper north side of the volcano. Camp Sherman. Look at the earthquakes that are hitting there. These are not just tremors, though. Yes, you can see a lot more tremors than they are showing on the USGS document. They're not showing you everything. These are the actual tremors. See those little dots on the seismogram? All of those are tremors. So USGS is still not being honest with us. Yes, they're showing some about 18 to 20 tremors at Mount Rainier today. That's all USGS wants us to know. But you can see these little dots on this seismogram. Those are all tremors. However, these longer lines are also pertinent. These longer lines also show earthquakes. Anywhere from 2.0, for example, this on this blue line to the center right here. This blue line to the center right, and this is after approximately 9:41 a.m. this morning. See this it's a shorter blue line here that's going vertical here. That is a 2.2 earthquake. 2.2 earthquake. Lines like that are minor earthquakes. Short lines like that are minor earthquakes. This earthquake up here on the upper center left here on the blue line. This is after 9:30 last night. About 9:33, 9:34 last night, that is a 2.0 earthquake. On the black line above it to the right, okay, this earthquake happened after 8 p.m. last night. approximately 8:07 p.m. last night, we had a 2.7 earthquake. Actually 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. Okay, now let's go over to that longer line here on the right center here. Okay, I'm going to enlarge this so you can truly see what I'm talking about. See this one here on this red line? This is after midnight. The red line is on the left-hand side is actually 12:30, or excuse me, 12:15 in the morning. The red line is 12:15 in the morning on the left-hand side. So this one is approximately about 8, I'm sorry, it's about 12:13 this morning. 12:13 this morning, a 3.2 earthquake. 3.2 earthquake here on that red line here. 3.2 earthquake. That's still a small earthquake. But USGS is not talking about that earthquake, are they? They didn't even put that on the map. They're not showing any of the 2.0, 2.7, 2.8 earthquakes here. They don't even talk about it. After that, on the red line below that, this red line here is after 3:15 in the morning, and it's actually here about 3:07 a.m. this morning on this red line here. It's a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. Below that, you see a lot of other 2.6, 2.5, 2.8 earthquakes. However, look at that blue line here just after 7:30 this morning. 07 is 7 a.m. The blue line below that is 7:30. So we come over to that blue line over to the right. Now we're talking about 7:35 this morning. This is the 3.3 earthquake. 3.3 small earthquake. After that, another earthquake hit. Folks, this earthquake here is approximately 3.2 earthquake. 3.2 earthquake. Now, look at the other earthquakes over here to the right. On this black line here, you see an earthquake, don't you? That is after 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. this morning. 9 a.m. this morning. 9 a.m. over on the left-hand side is not, on the black line is 9 a.m. This is about 9:11 a.m. here. This is a 2.9 earthquake. 2.9 earthquake. Now we go down to 10 a.m. over on the left-hand side. You see 10 here? That is military time for 10 a.m. 1000 hours. We come on the blue line beneath that. Now we're talking 10:31 a.m. this morning. This is a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake. Okay? Then we go one better down to the next blue line, which is 11:30. We come across that blue line over here to this next earthquake. This next earthquake happened at approximately 10:37 a.m. or 11:37 a.m. this morning. 11:37 a.m. this morning, we have another 3.3 earthquake at Mount Rainier. And USGS is not even showing these. The United States Geological Survey is not showing any of these earthquakes. They're only showing a handful of tremors at that. Less than 20 tremors on the USGS map. Now, if I had done this kind of crap when I was a cop, putting out false information, they would have not just fired me, but they would have locked me up. It's a felony to file false paperwork. A felony to file false paperwork. And yet the USGS does it every day. They do it every day, and they get away with it. Unreal. But folks, guess what? There's more. Let me show you another seismogram from Mount Rainier. This one is coming from Mount Rainier Emerald Ridge. Good old Emerald Ridge. Okay? 2 3.0 earthquakes here. 2 3.0 earthquakes here, as well as a 2.3 earthquake here as well. Emerald Ridge. Crazy, huh? It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop, guys. It continues and continues and continues. Let's go over to East Old Mount St. Helens. Look what's happening at East Old Mount St. Helens. Now, the seismograph that sits on the top of Mount St. Helens at the summit, it's called, there's two seismographs machines sitting atop Mount St. Helens. One is East Old Mount St. Helens, and the other sits on spindly legs like this on top of the summit of Mount St. Helens. It's called September Lobe. However, this is East Old Mount St. Helens. Look at the tremors here. You definitely see these are tremors, but there's also a 2.5 earthquake there as well. A 2.5 earthquakes there as well, right there. Just after 12:30 a.m. this morning. Approximately 12:37 a.m. this morning. You can see it. Okay? Now, we also want to pay attention to these horizontal lines that are thicker. We've told you all about these magma pulse signals. Magma pulse signals. Magma pulse signals are all they are evidence of magma coming into the volcano. Magma coming into the volcano. When we have thicker lines, we have more magma. When we have thinner lines, it's less magma. You can see what's happening here. Okay? Yes, we had some thickening lines at 5 p.m. yesterday at the top of this seismograph. 17 here at 1700 last night, military time, 5 p.m. You see some thick lines. They're not really thick, but they're semi-thick compared to others. We also see some really thin lines. But after 9:30 last night on the blue line, that's when we start seeing thickening lines here. Between 9:30 and 1:30 this morning. Remember those times. 9:30 last night to 1:30 this morning. Okay? East Old Mount St. Helens. Let's go over to September Lobe. September Lobe. The same seismograph that's sitting on top of that volcano on spindly legs. Look what we're seeing here on this main seismograph here. Okay? Up at the top on the red line. The red line here is 5:15. The black line beneath it is 5 p.m. last night. It's a little bit backwards, but that's what the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network does at the beginning of the seismographs. They've got it back asswards. Okay? The first one you pay attention to is on that red line. That is from last night. That happened at approximately 5:18 p.m. last night. A 3.0 earthquake at Mount St. Helens. You see a lot of tremors there, don't we? A ton of tremors. You also see some minor earthquakes, 2.0 large earthquakes here. Okay? We dropped down to the black line over here this morning. This morning. You see it over to the right here. This is after 8 a.m. this morning. In this particular case, though, guys, this earthquake happened at 8:17 this morning. 8:17 this morning. This is a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake hitting here at Mount St. Helens. Remember that. Remember that. Also remember that other seismograph I showed you where the earthquakes and tremors were specifically hitting between 9:30 and 1:30 a.m. Remember that. Because right now we're going to the other seismograph that is September Lobe BDF-CC01. This is the same seismogram that shows us the magma inflow into the volcano. The magma inflow in the volcano. All these wavy lines here, folks, show magma coming into the volcano, heavy-duty magma. It's coming under pressure into the volcano. Notice here at the top, 1700 till about 2000, 8 p.m. That's still a lot of busyness with the magma. A lot of magma coming into the volcano. It started earlier than that, about 3 p.m. last night, yesterday afternoon. But come down here to last night, starting about 9:30 p.m. last night. We had earthquakes showing between 9:30 and 1:30 this morning on that other seismogram. But you see here, it's not just from 9:30 to 1. There was a ton of magma coming into the magma chamber of Mount St. Helens last night until approximately 4:30 this morning. That means the USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network did not show us all the earthquakes, because the heaviness of the magma coming into the magma chamber here should show us earthquakes on the other seismogram, but they're not showing it to us. That means the USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network have erased earthquakes. They've deleted the earthquakes on the seismogram. Unreal. This is what they've done. This is what they've done, guys. They've done it prolifically. They keep on doing it. They keep on doing it. Then this afternoon here, look at this. After about 10:30 this morning till about 12:15, 12:30 this afternoon, the magma starts picking up again and then dies off. It only died off because I pulled the seismogram before I came on the air. Okay? I pulled this seismogram to show you this before I came on the air. Okay? But you can see Mount St. Helens is still busy. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop, folks. What is happening in the Pacific Northwest is being ignored by the agency because they don't want to tell the public exactly what's going on. They do not want the public to know what's going on. Period. But it's not just the Pacific Northwest. Okay? As I said before, we're going to talk now about Southern California. And then we will talk about the new Madrid Fault. Let's go over to Southern California now. I kid you not, guys, this is serious. This is pretty serious. This particular seismogram is Channel Island, just off the coast of Los Angeles. Look at what's going on here. No, we don't have any big earthquakes. In fact, up at the top of this seismogram, just after 5:04 a.m. this morning, we had a 2.0 earthquake. 5:04 a.m. this morning on Channel Island, we had a 2.0 earthquake. All the rest of these events here are tremors. They're just tremors, nothing more than that. We've had large earthquakes here at Channel Island before, but it's still busy. It's still busy. The area around Los Angeles is busy. Why? Because there are earthquakes happening all over here. Seismic energy coming from the Pacific Ocean is hitting this area, not just on the landfall on the mass, but it's out on the islands as well. That's what we see here. Channel Island is having tremors here. They've had minor earthquakes, and you see one minor earthquake here at 5:04 a.m. this morning. Okay? Channel Island. Now, it's unreal. It continues, guys. It continues. I kid you not. Los Angeles is busy. Southern California is busy. Let's go to Bakersfield. This is out in the desert over east of LA in Bakersfield. Look at this. All of these are tremors here. Each and every seismic event here are tremors. Cal State University, Bakersfield here. That's where the seismograph is at. You see nothing but tremors. Folks, this is on the San Andreas Fault. This event here is here because the San Andreas Fault is moving. Blackbird is asking how long before the big hit? Soon, I think. It could happen any time. It could happen any time. That is why we come on the air talking about it. Now, we are expecting, okay, there is, well, let me back up. Before I even came on the air, there has been another gentleman that has come up on YouTube. He also has a Facebook channel. On his channels, he's been talking about Los Angeles having a 7.0 major earthquake every Sunday for the past 4 years. That gentleman has been predicting a 7.0 earthquake in the Los Angeles area every Sunday for the past 4 years. I've reported it on Facebook. In my opinion, he's putting out false information. It hasn't happened. It has not happened ever. Yes, we had a 7.1 in Ridgecrest back in 2019. But this gentleman that I'm talking about is putting out false information. Yes, we are going to have a 7.0 earthquake in Southern California in the very near future. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen next week or next month. I don't think we're going to go through the rest of summer without seeing it. I think we'll probably see it between now and the end of August. That's my idea. That's my opinion. It could happen after that, but I don't think it's going to get past this year. Like I said, it could happen today, tomorrow, next month, next week, this coming year. But I don't think it's going to get much past August. Okay? Unreal. Blackbird, I didn't understand anything you just said. It's incomprehensible what you said. You said you met a girl yesterday who works for Cross, is on way Canada because of fired. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Charlene is here in the chat. Says pneumatic seismic zone Midwest and Florida and sinkholes in general spreading across the continent. You're right. She says perhaps due to the North American craton moving. That's only part of it. That's only part of it. As I said before, the area around where you see the Atlantic Ocean on all the maps, that is the Atlantic plate. The Atlantic plate is actually a tectonic plate beneath the ocean. The middle of the Atlantic plate is expanding. The middle of the Atlantic plate is expanding, coming apart. The mid-Atlantic plate is pushing Europe and Africa in the easterly direction. It's also pushing Greenland, Canada, the United States, and northern Mexico, the North American plate, in a southwesterly direction. Yes, we are seeing earthquakes on the eastern seaboard. We are seeing earthquakes from Georgia north to Maine and New Hampshire and up into Canada. That is because the Atlantic plate is expanding, pushing North America in a southwesterly direction. And because of that, yes, we have some sinkholes. But you have to also understand how those sinkholes happen. Sinkholes happen because of water, flooding, excessive flooding. We know for a fact where that's happened. Hurricanes and excess rain. Florida just got through going through a low depression cell that poured rain on Florida for the past week or so, causing flooding. The water goes beneath the soil. It soaks into the soil and down beneath the crust of the earth where we walk on. Floods out that area, forming sinkholes. Then all of a sudden, the earth that's above that sinks. That's called a sinkhole. It has nothing to do with seismic energy necessarily. Yes, part of it is possibly the plate moving, possibly true. But the sinkholes are mostly caused by water, flooding. Now, Kathy Paina from Hawaii is here saying our microphone is far away. Let me check the mic level here and see what we can do about that. My mic level here is very high. Okay, my mic level here is very high. I don't believe we can do anything more than what we're doing now. Yes, I will talk more directly into the microphone than I had. I was talking off the side of the microphone. Now I'm talking directly into it. But again, this is California. This is Bakersfield, California here on the San Andreas Fault. You see it here. Let's continue this conversation. Let's go over to Lancaster, California. These are tremors and long duration tremors here at Lancaster, California. Also on the San Andreas Fault. Also on the San Andreas Fault here. Look at that. Tremors. The San Andreas Fault is very real. As I go through this presentation today, you're going to see a lot of earthquakes up and down the San Andreas Fault east of Los Angeles. Demon Catman says another 5.1 large earthquake hit in Papua New Guinea with a depth of 10 kilometers, 6.2 miles deep. Yes, Demon Catman, that happens. Papua New Guinea's actually had, this is the second 5.0 earthquake today in Papua New Guinea. Okay? There's been large earthquakes, and we'll talk about those in a few minutes. Okay? But this is Lancaster, California. I want to go south here over to San Jacinto, on the San Jacinto Fault. This is Hemet, California. Hemet, California. This seismograph is located at the San Jacinto campus in Hemet, California. What it's showing here is nothing but tremors. However, earlier this year, we've had minor earthquakes here as well. Minor earthquakes here in Hemet, California. Okay? This is on the San Jacinto Fault. Let's go back out to the desert of California, out to Rancho Mirage, California here. The San Andreas Fault here. The San Andreas Fault here. Look here, guys. Long duration tremor activity here. Long duration tremor activity here. Some of it lasting 15, 20 minutes at a time. Other times it's only lasting maybe 5 to 10 minutes or even less. But long duration tremor activity out here in Rancho Mirage, California. As I said, the San Andreas Fault is moving. It's moving in a big way. Let's go to Riverside, California. What we've seen here a lot of times are just tremors, and that's all we're seeing here today. However, last year we were seeing minor earthquakes, 2.0, 2.5 earthquakes here in Riverside. Now, guys, when the San Andreas Fault goes, Riverside probably will get destroyed. When the San Andreas Fault goes, Riverside will be destroyed. If you guys have been through Riverside or live there, or have friends or relatives anywhere near there, the city of Riverside, it's spread out all over the desert floor out there. What is Riverside right now will not be even recognizable after the major quake happens out here on the San Andreas Fault. Be gone. Jeremy Christopher's asking, what are the chances the San Andreas, the Cascadia, and all the volcanoes happen at once? It's highly unlikely. That is highly unlikely. It is possible that the Cascadia 9.0, 10.0 earthquake could happen, and maybe 1 or 2 volcanoes happen. But that's all. I don't believe we're going to see more than 1 or 2 volcanoes erupt at the same time or before the Cascadia earthquake happens, or even after that. As I said before, when the Cascadia earthquake happened in January, I believe it was January 26, 1700, there was a seafarer out on a big boat, big ship. By today's standards, it's only a small ship. It was out there off the coast of Washington State after the Cascadia earthquake happened. He said that he saw either Mount Rainier or Glacier Peak erupting at the time. So it is possible that we could have 1 or 2 volcanoes erupting during or after or before the Cascadia earthquake happens. Yes, it is very possible it could happen that way. You can't have volcanoes without subduction. The Cascadia earthquake is a subduction quake. The Cascadia earthquake will be a subduction quake. One plate going under the North American plate, just like this. The Pacific plate and the Juan de Fuca plate going underneath the North American continent like this. That's how that earthquake is going to happen. Charlene, we're not talking about health hazards right now. Yes, there are health hazards, but right now we're talking about the earthquakes in Southern California. Yes, when we have the earthquakes, a lot of dirt and stuff will be stirred up. That happens when we have shaking. Then there will be health hazards because of the bad air quality after the earthquakes. We also have air quality issues when we have great big huge air masses at the surface pushing dirt and sand across the continent. We've seen that in Colorado before. We've seen that in California before. Great big huge sandstorms, dirt storms coming across the earth just like this. It's happened. Then we have air quality issues, and that bacteria that's on the ground tends to be inhaled by animals of all kinds, including human beings, dogs and cats, bears, alligators. We don't have any alligators in Colorado to speak of, but we have large animals there, elk and deer as well. They'll be affected by that. Joseph's here in the chat asking the movie 10.5, is it possible? Not yes. That is possible. Those of you that are listening to this broadcast right now, the earthquake movie that he's talking about is a disaster movie called 10.5. Okay? That movie represented the San Andreas Fault moving like none other. And the scientists thought that they might be able to stop the San Andreas Fault from opening up like it was by implanting nuclear warheads beneath the surface, drilling down into a deep borehole, placing a nuke at the bottom of the borehole, and then blowing it up. They thought they could stop the San Andreas Fault from going off by doing that. And yes, in that movie they did. And it is possible. It is possible that the San Andreas Fault could react like that. Let's pause right here about talking about Southern California. Let's talk about the San Andreas Fault briefly here. I want to make sure you understand what we're talking about here. Let's take the map, the seismograph down here. let's talk about the San Andreas Fault here. Okay, I'm going to take our banner down here. I'm going to go over to the USGS map now. Yes, right now on the San Andreas, or not San Andreas, the USGS map, we are looking at the Imperial Valley. Look at this. They're not showing any earthquakes at all in the Imperial Valley. What a joke. There are a ton of earthquakes in the Imperial Valley. Right now, I would estimate between 400 and 500 earthquakes happening here in the Imperial Valley today. And they're not showing one of them. They're not showing one of them. That's bad. That's really bad. Now, the San Andreas Fault comes out of Northern California and it runs down the east side of the Salton Sea here. See that red line here? Runs along the east side of the San Andreas, or east side of the Salton Sea here. It also comes out here near Calipatria, California, right down here. Comes out underneath the Salton Sea down here. And notice this. It all of a sudden takes a westerly turn. Goes down just south of the Salton Sea to the west. Then it takes an immediately southwesterly turn and goes through Imperial Valley here. All the way through Westmoreland, goes through the town of Imperial, goes through El Centro here, goes all the way down through here by Holtville, all the way down through Heber, California, down here at the border, Mexicali area here, goes all the way down here through northern Mexico, all the way through northern Mexico out here into the Gulf of California here. Right here. See the San Andreas Fault here in the Gulf of California? All the way through the Gulf of California. And they're not showing earthquakes here, but there are earthquakes here in the Gulf of California today. They're not showing any. Why not? The San Andreas Fault runs all the way down here to southern Mexico. Notice they're not showing any earthquakes here in southern Mexico, except this one here, right here. This over in southeastern Mexico near Juan Evangelista, Mexico, San Juan and Bellista, Mexico. This is a 4.3 earthquake. But what they're not showing are all the other earthquakes. From over here at Puerto Vallarta, all the way down to this 4.3 here. There are 43 earthquakes here in southern Mexico that they're not telling us about. 43 earthquakes that they're not telling us about. Why not? Why not? They are hiding earthquakes. When they hide earthquakes, that's a lie. If you and I were hiding information, if you and I were in court testifying about a case and we were not giving good information, it's called not telling the truth. And you could go to jail for it. This is just one more case where the USGS is not telling us about the information. Jeremy Christopher says mostly in Southern California, yes. Mostly in Southern California, yes. However, let's go back up here to the Pacific Northwest. That Cascadia earthquake that we talked about is going to hit just up in this area. You see the Cascadia subduction zone. This earthquake fault that runs from up here at Haida Gwaii, Queen Charlotte Island here, British Columbia, all the way down here to the south to Northern California down here. The Cascadia earthquake fault. Just to the east of there is the Juan de Fuca that I spoke about, the Juan de Fuca fault. The Juan de Fuca fault is a zigzag fault here. Somewhere between the Juan de Fuca and the Cascadia subduction zone is where we're going to see the 9.0, 10.0 earthquake happen. Okay? Guess it's going to happen here. That seismic energy that happens here is going to be transferred up the Cascadia subduction zone here up into Alaska. So the people in Alaska are going to feel some of that seismic energy. Possibly not a 9.0 earthquake, but possibly a 7 or 8.0 earthquake here. They're going to feel that energy here in Alaska. Okay? That seismic energy is also going to be passed south. This entire Pacific coast is going to feel the aftershock of the 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that's going to happen off the coast of Washington State and Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Both the Juan de Fuca Fault and the Cascade Subduction Zone run south, don't they? You see the Juan de Fuca Fault here, running down right here? This is called the Blanco Fracture Zone. The Blanco Fracture Zone runs from the northwest up here to the southeast down here. Runs south here to the Gorda Ridge. The Gorda Ridge, that's another earthquake fault. The Gorda Ridge runs from the Blanco Fracture Zone down here to the Gorda Escarpment. The Gorda Escarpment runs east and west away from the California coast. Now, back in 2019, December 23rd, 2019, a professor of geology from Oregon State University, Christopher Goldfinger, he spoke at a scientific conference in San Francisco. He spoke at a scientific conference here in San Francisco, December 23rd, 2019. That conference, he said that the Cascadia earthquake would trigger the San Andreas Fault. How would that be possible? The Cascadia Subduction Zone triggering the San Andreas Fault. Why? Because up here, just off the coast of Northern California, is where the Cascadia Subduction Zone hooks up with the Gorda Escarpment and the San Jacinto Fault, or the San Andreas Fault here, the San Andreas Fault. So that energy from the Pacific Northwest will be transferred down the Cascadia Subduction Zone down here to the San Andreas Fault and trigger the San Andreas Fault. That energy would be transmitted all the way down the coast of California down here. All the way down here. Just north of San Francisco, the San Andreas Fault starts going inland here. Goes right along the coastline until it gets to San Francisco here. When it hits San Francisco, it goes out into the ocean again. Runs along the coast of California here, just west of San Francisco here. Just west of San Francisco here. Let me take my webcam down so you can see what I'm talking about here. I don't want you to miss anything here. The San Andreas Fault runs down the coast of San Francisco, just west of San Francisco Bay. What do you think it's going to look like here in San Francisco Bay when we have an 8.0 earthquake here? Yes, folks, that energy may not be a 10.0 earthquake by the time it gets here to San Francisco, but it probably will be an 8.0 like quake. San Francisco is going to be destroyed. San Francisco, as we know it, probably will be destroyed. The other fault zones here in this area, both the Hayward and the Calaveras Fault, are also going to be transmitting that energy. This whole area will be destroyed. The San Andreas Fault continues inland here, west of Monterey Bay here. Continues westbound here all the way through California here. Goes it goes east of Santa Barbara here. Goes east of Santa Barbara here. It continues south eastbound here. east of Los Angeles. This area will also be destroyed. By the time it gets down here to Los Angeles, we'll probably be feeling it more like a 7.0, 7.5 earthquake again. This time, the Cascadia earthquake will cause this earthquake to happen. It will cause this earthquake to happen. Between now and probably the next 2 years, we're going to see the San Andreas Fault completely destroy this area here. The San Andreas Fault will probably destroy this area here in the next 2 years. We are expecting a major 7.0 plus earthquake here. But the Cascadia earthquake will be felt all the way down here as well, into Southern California, east of Los Angeles, and all the faults all over the LA basin will be radiating this seismic energy, literally all over the area. No joke. Charlene is asking, Ron, could not that intense energy beyond transferring along existing fault lines you discussed also create new ones in a high magnitude earthquake? It could. It could. Let's do this. I have not talked about this yet. Let's say the Cascadia earthquake hit and it transmits that 8.0 earthquake energy down the San Andreas Fault. What if? What if? And it's a possibility. What if there's already 6.5, 7.0 energy here, locked up here like it is now? Yes, there is 7.0, 7.5 energy locked up here on the San Andreas Fault here in Southern California. It's locked up. And that 8.0 energy hits here, look out. Yes, it could trigger a massive earthquake. It could trigger a massive earthquake. Kathy Payena, tomorrow is your 55th anniversary. Congratulations. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. We appreciate you very much. Kathy Payena lives on the Big Island of Hawaii. But again, that energy comes down here into the Imperial Valley as well, where you're hardly seeing any seismic energy at all. That's because the USGS is not telling us about it. The seismic energy is there. I'm going to show you the seismographs here. Just a minute. It's there. But that 8.7.0, 8.0 activity will happen all the way down here into Northern California. Yes, it will be transmitted all the way down here into northern Mexico. All the way down here in northern Mexico. Fact. Fact. It's going to happen. Right. Riverside will be destroyed. You'll clean the clock. You'll clean the clocks of everybody in Riverside. No joke. No joke. Now, let's go to Victorville. One of our dear friends lives in Victorville. You guys know her, Isaiah's granny. She lives here in Victorville. This is on the San Andreas Fault as well. Look at this. Nothing but tremors here in Victorville. We have had minor earthquakes here in Victorville before. These are all tremors out in Victorville. Isaiah's granny and other people can't even feel these. Tremors and minor earthquakes are not felt. There's no way. They're tiny seismic events. They can't be felt. But the San Andreas Fault is still moving. You can see it here. Every day it's moving just like this. Okay? Now, let's continue this talk here. Now, I want to go over to Los Angeles. Northwestern Los Angeles. Let's go over here to the Baldwin Hills. Out here in the Baldwin Hills, guys, there is an oil and gas drilling area. The oil and gas drilling area here in Baldwin Hills has been going on since 1940s, pulling oil and gas out of the Los Angeles area. Notice here on the side graph, they're not showing the entire day. The entire day goes from 5 a.m. until 3 p.m. every day on this particular seismograph. But they've been turning this seismograph off and on, since January. You're not seeing any activity here at all. From 5 a.m. this morning until 8:30 a.m. this morning. From 5 a.m. to 8:30, they're not showing anything. And then after 11:15, they're not showing anything as well. Nothing. They're basically showing 8:30 to 11:15. That's all. All we are seeing here are tremors. Tremors. We've had larger tremors here at Baldwin Hills before now. Larger tremors we're seeing here in Baldwin Hills before now. Now, what happens when a major earthquake happens here? There is a video, a disaster film, called The Great Los Angeles Earthquake. A cast of hundreds, a great big huge cast of hundreds, well-known actors and actresses. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, it's available here on YouTube for free. When the large big one hits here in LA, before it hits, you're going to see a fluctuation of earthquake energy here in Baldwin Hills. The fluctuation of seismic energy here in the Baldwin Hills is going to coincide with lower pressure of oil being pumped out of the oil field. It's going to lower the oil pressure coming out of the pumps at the Baldwin Hills. That's what happens. Okay? You're also going to see these earthquakes building up here in the Baldwin Hills. We're going to see not just tremors, but minor earthquakes prior to the San Andreas Fault moving, like I'm talking about. Now, Sergey's here in the chat talking about a solar flare that was launched from the sun today. That solar flare, the X-ray radiation, will reach the Earth within the next few hours. However, the plasma radiation will not reach us for the next 2 to 3 days. Then we'll see an increase in seismic activity. During the weekend, we got hit by a solar flare. I don't remember how strong it was, but we got hit by a solar flare that caused the earthquakes we saw yesterday around the world, and even today. We had a 5.8 today in northern Greenland, just after 5 a.m. this morning. I'll show you that earthquake in a few minutes. But we're going to see an addition of seismic energy hitting around the globe today, tomorrow, and even Thursday. It's going to happen because of that solar flare. Okay? But here in the Baldwin Hills, all you see is tremors, which is a joke. Shirley is saying more oil and water extracted out of the belly of the earth, the more substance. Yes, substance. Substances, guys, what Charlene is talking about here in the chat, substance is when the earth that we walk on, the crust of the earth we walk on, sinks. Sinks. It's called subsidence. The vacant hole in the earth that is a result of oil and water being extracted from the oil wells and also the aquifers. That hole in the ground is going to cause the earth where we walk to sink. It's happening all over the San Fernando Valley right now. Subsidence. It's causing home pieces of concrete, the foundations of homes here in Los Angeles, cracking, big time cracking, and the walls of homes also cracking. Incredible. There's nothing anybody can do about it. There's nothing anybody can do about it. It's going to continue. Okay? Like I said, they have been taking oil away from the ground since the 1940s here in the Baldwin Hills. Baldwin Hills used to be a forested area. They bulldozed it down, and now it's nothing but oil and gas drilling platforms all over the place. Let's continue this talk. Okay. Now, I want to go out to Chino. In the past few months, we've seen minor earthquakes happening here in Chino, California. Now, all we are seeing are minor tremors. Minor tremors. This is all that's happening in Chino, California at all. Nothing more. Now, some of this is due to the energy of the San Andreas Fault. It's gotten less and less. That's why I believe, because the seismic energy on the San Andreas Fault has dwindled, we're building up to a large earthquake here in Chino Hills, California. Chino, California. It's about to happen. Now, let's go over to Del Amo. North of Los Angeles, there is a housing area, a smaller city suburb of Los Angeles called Del Amo. Look what's happening here. In the past 6 months, we saw 3.0 earthquakes hitting here in Del Amo. Now all we are seeing are tremors. Just tremors here in Del Amo. A lot of tremors earlier this morning. Look at that. 5 a.m. this morning, 5 p.m. last night. On this particular seismogram, this is last night. 5 p.m. last night, we had a lot of tremors. Then it eased up during the nighttime. It eased up until about 10:30 last night, and then it eased up even more throughout the day. Then, guys, we come down here to 6 a.m. this morning. Actually, 4 a.m. this morning. 4 a.m. this morning, the tremors started in again. They started in again. Now, unfortunately, Caltech and the USGS are not going to show us what happened later on this morning. The seismograms aren't available. They're not going to show it to us. Possibly because it contains information that they don't want us to see. They've been doing that lately. That's why you see this particular seismogram as starting out at 5 or 6 p.m. last night. Okay? But let's continue on. Let's go out to Fontana. Fontana, California. Look at this. This is east of Los Angeles. The east side of Los Angeles. Up until 3 months ago, all we were seeing here are tremors. Then it built up to minor earthquakes, and now we're seeing upwards of minor earthquakes to 3.0 earthquakes here. Look at the top of this seismogram here. 2.0, 2.5, and even tremors here. Yes, we are seeing tremors here, but we're also seeing 2.0, 2.5 earthquakes. On this red line here, okay, this red line here is 5:15 last night. 5:15 last night over on the left-hand side. This is approximately 5:25 p.m. last night. Folks, that's a good 2.5 earthquake. That is at least a 2.5 earthquake right there. You see a lot of seismic activity happening here. Minor earthquakes. Minor earthquakes. Yes, you are seeing some tremors here as well. But what happens later on? What happened after 10:30 last night? On the blue line on the left-hand side, you see 2200 hours. That's 10 p.m. Go down to this blue line, that's 10:30. Go off here to the right. At approximately 10:37 last night, 2.7 earthquake. 2.7 earthquake last night. Okay? Incredible. Incredible. What did we see this afternoon? Actually, this morning. Right down here this morning. 2:34 this morning. 2.5, 2.7 earthquake. Then down here at the 4:30 line on the blue line here on the left-hand side. 4:33 this morning. Another 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. Then farther down here to the right, This happened at 4:39 a.m. this morning. Another 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. And off to the right of that, about 4 minutes later, we have a 2.0. Fontana, California, guys. This is over on the San Jacinto Fault. The San Jacinto Fault just west of the San Andreas. Fontana, California is moving. It's been moving in a big way for quite some time. Okay, but that's not all, folks. There's more. A lot more. Let's go over to Mira Loma. Mira Loma is west of Fontana. Look what's happening here. USGS says we have 1.2 tremor. 1.2 tremor here in Mira Loma. What a joke. What a freaking joke that is. Look at all the 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 tremors here. All day long. And USGS wants to only claim a 1.2 tremor here. Yeah, a 1.2 tremor here in Mira Loma on the USGS map. Again, USGS is lying to the public. They're absolutely lying to the public. They don't want anybody to know what's going on. Yes, they can show them just like they're showing a lot of tremors up here on Mount Rainier, but not like this. There is at least 12 hours of seismic energy here. 12 hours of seismic energy here. But they don't want to talk about it, do they? Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid. Now, I want to go over to the coastline south of LA, Laguna Niguel, California. Look at this. Tremors over here on the southwest side of LA, along the coastline. Nothing but tremors here. Let's continue. Let's go north of Los Angeles. Let's go north of Los Angeles to Playa del Rey, Marina del Rey. Still along the coastline. Down in that area of Laguna we just showed you. That area of Los Angeles has a bunch of people living there. 200,000, 500,000, and $750,000 homes down in Laguna Niguel. Up here at Playa del Rey, Marina del Rey area, $1 million homes, yachts and small boats here in the harbor of Playa del Rey and Marina del Rey. In the marinas, there are tons of boats. On shore, there are $1 million homes. Yes, we have seen minor earthquakes here before. Minor earthquakes here at Playa del Rey, Marina del Rey. Yes, we do see 1.5 tremor here earlier this morning. Okay, that's Marina del Rey, Laguna, and Playa del Rey here. Let's continue on. Let's go over to Long Beach. Long Beach. Look what's happening here in Long Beach. Yes, we're seeing minor tremors and some minor earthquakes here. Nothing more than a 2.0 earthquake, however. Nothing more than a 2.0 minor earthquake here. This is all, for the most part, tremors. Yes, we've seen 2.0, we've seen 3.0 earthquakes hitting here in Long Beach before. We've seen it. But Long Beach is still very busy. It always has been. Seismic energy has been coming in here into Long Beach for quite some time. Kathy Paena says she can now hear me in her pocket. I'm glad you can. Thank you. Surgery has been saying, ever wonder why the USGS gets these orders to downgrade these quakes? I've told you about it. The politicians in DC and local politicians in these areas doesn't want the truth to come out about what's happening here. They are telling the USBS, and they're telling Caltech, and they're telling the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, don't be honest with what's going on. Don't tell anybody what is actually happening. Don't tell them that there are coming large earthquakes, that there are incoming large earthquakes. Why? Because if the public found out about that, they would move out of these areas. They would move away from the coast, away from these earthquake faults. They move completely away because they don't want their homes to be destroyed. They don't want their families to be destroyed either. Loss of life, loss of property. That's why the USBS and Caltech and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network are not telling us the honest truth. And they're downgrading the events. They're also downgrading the events. Okay? This is Long Beach. Now, what I'm about to show you is going to blow your mind. What I'm about to show you is going to blow your mind. I promise you. Give me a second. Just realized I was missing that seismic event. I'll pick it up. Give me a second. Just a second here. There it is. I knew I missed it. And I'm kind of blown away about this one, guys. I'm kind of blown away by this one because usually we've had a lot of earthquakes here in the Anaheim area. Okay? I'm about to show you a seismogram in the Anaheim area. This will blow your mind. I promise you this will blow your mind. Let me go down here to State Street. This is State Street over in Anaheim. Even last week when I showed you this seismogram, it was full of 2.5 and 3.0 earthquakes. Look what's happened here. They've taken all those earthquakes down a notch, a huge notch. All that we are seeing here are minor tremors. That's never happened here on State Street in the past 6 years. Until now, this is the very first time we've only seen tremors here at State Street in Anaheim, California. Usually they are 2.5 to 3.5 earthquakes here in Anaheim, California. This is the first. Yes, there is one earthquake here that's approximately a 2.5 earthquake. Let me show it to you right now, right there on the left-hand side. After approximately 1:02 this morning, that is a 2.6, 2.7 earthquake on the blue line there. 2.6, 2.7 earthquake here in Anaheim last night. It's unheard of. It's unheard of. We have only tremors here. Only tremors except for maybe one or two of them. That's it. Actually, there might be a 2.0 earthquake here on the left-hand side of the black line here. This is after 2300 last night, 11 p.m. 2300 military time is 11 p.m. This earthquake happened after 11:04 p.m. last night. Probably a 2.3, 2.4. 2.3, 2.4, that's it. That's it. Like I said, we've never seen this before And I'm not going to apologize at all. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with USGS and Caltech not reporting what is actually going on. Like I said, usually we have a lot of earthquakes here in Anaheim. It's not. About 3 or 4 months ago, we had 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes happening here in Anaheim. And in fact, they had to close Disneyland down early, real early, to make sure the rides were still safe. They had to close Knott's Berry Farm and Disneyland down for several hours that morning because of earthquakes. And earthquakes kept it happening all up and on all day long. 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes in Anaheim before. Now all we have are tremors, maybe a couple 2.3, 2.4 earthquakes. That's it. That's it. They are lying through their teeth. Charlene is talking about climate move. There's no such thing as climate change. No such thing as climate change. That is a Democrat progressive phrase. Climate change is a Democrat communist progressive change. Okay? It's a phrase. There's no such thing as climate change. Climate is cyclical. Climate is cyclical in nature. Different times, different seasons. Climate change is cyclical. They talked about the South Pole warming up and melting icebergs. Wrong. Wrong. The South Pole, it gets warmer during the summer, which is wintertime up here in the north. In the northern hemisphere, we have colder temperatures in the winter. In our winter, down south, it's warmer temperatures. Beach time on the beaches of Australia and New Zealand. They talked about climate change happening down the South Pole. It's wrong. It's all cyclical, seasonal changes. Up at the North Pole, the same thing is happening around the Arctic Circle. Yes, some of the ice is melting because it's cyclical. But in the coming months, it will get colder again and ice will stop melting again. It's cyclical, guys. That's what's happening. Sage Pup is here in the chat, talking about Jimmy Christopher here. All the Imperial Valley was a shallow lake, a giant shallow lake up until the early 1900s. Yeah, it sure was. And Jeremy's talking about the Old Navy map. You can find that over on the internet on Google. Google the Old Navy map. It's there. You can see what the Old Navy map had to tell us about 1700s and what's going to happen going forward. North America is going to be completely changed. North America is going to be completely changed. That's going to happen. Kathy Berriman is asking, has a certain ocean current completely reversed? Not quite. Not quite. And Pickering says, you've been warning us since you came on the air about watching you and following you since you started. Ron, my son, showed me how to speak with you. It's all natural, no climate change. Yes. There's no climate change at all. It's all natural. It's cyclical. It's completely cyclical. Yes, there is more plasma. Shirley's talking about plasma radiation from the sun. Yes, we've had a lot of solar flares in the past year or so. Tons of solar flares in the past year. And yes, the solar flares heat up our atmosphere. Heats up the core of the earth, heats up the plates, heats up the earthquake faults, as I've told you about before. That also changes the ocean temperatures as well. Okay? But it doesn't necessarily change all of the ocean currents. There is still a Gulf, what do they call it? The Gulf Coast movement of water headed from the Gulf of America all the way up to Norway, Denmark, Greenland. Yeah, it happens. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. Let's continue this broadcast here. Okay, that's Cal State, or that's State Street in Anaheim, California. Let's continue moving here. Now I showed you Del Amo, I showed you Fontana. Let's go over here to Mira Loma, or we showed you Mira Loma, we showed you Mira Loma. Let's go over to Moore Park, north of Los Angeles. Look at this. North of Los Angeles had an earthquake here, right? Look at this. This happened yesterday afternoon. Yesterday afternoon, sometime after 5:03, 5:04 yesterday afternoon. Notice the bottom of this seismic signal has been cut off. The top has been cut off because of the seismogram itself, but the top and the bottom of this seismic sequence was cut off. There was a 3.5, 4.0 earthquake happened north of Los Angeles yesterday evening. USGS didn't tell us about it. Nobody told us about it. But the news was frequent in Los Angeles area talking about small earthquake shaking. Yes, it's small shaking. Small shaking. You can see it here on the seismogram. USGS denied it happened. Caltech says, oh, we don't know what that was. It was an earthquake. An earthquake in the northern part of LA. Other than that, we had some minor earthquakes here. Some minor earthquakes here after 5:30 last night up at the top on that blue line. That is 5:03 yesterday evening. That was a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. We'll come down here to the right yesterday evening. 7:44 last night, we also had another 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. Then after 8 p.m. last night, 8:30 last night, we had another 2.8, 2.9 earthquake there. A few minutes later, approximately 8:04, 8:05 last evening, another 2.3 earthquake, minor earthquake. Nobody feels these twos. Nobody will feel a 2.0, 2.9 earthquake. 2.5, 2.9 maybe if there's a very sensitive person. This is northern Los Angeles. Northern Los Angeles. Then today, just after 2:16 a.m. this morning, this is a 2.6 earthquake. 2.5, maybe 2.6 earthquake here. 3:16 this morning, not 3:16 this morning. Other than that, this is all tremors here. All the rest of this is just tremors here. Tremors here in Moore Park, California. Yes, we had some earthquakes, but mostly tremors. Let's continue to move here. I want to show you, in Los Angeles there's a town called, it's a suburb of Los Angeles called Palos Verdes, Rancho Palos Verdes. There was a fire here last year. There was also major flooding after the fire because there's rain. The rain washed down the hills, caused landslides. And their landslides caused minor tremors. And even today we're seeing minor tremors happen here. I don't think that what we're seeing here last night, again, this is last night, guys. We're seeing this here last night until just after 6. These are tremors in the area. I don't believe we had any landslides at all yesterday evening. Nothing. But these are tremors over here in Rancho Palos Verdes. Okay. Now, let's move on here. We have a lot of ground to cover here. I want to show you Rio Hondo. Rio Hondo is also north of Los Angeles. These are just tiny tremors here. Very tiny tremors here in Rio Hondo, north of Los Angeles. I showed you State Street. Let's go over to Los Angeles area to the University of Southern California. The seismograph sitting at the University of Southern California here in Los Angeles, just showing you minor tremors here. Very, very minor tremors here in the University of Southern California. Nothing to really show you here. Now, let's see here. Over in southern Los Angeles, there is a hillside over in the center of LA. It's called Santiago Peak. There's several peaks over there near Griffith Park as well. This is Santiago Peak. Here we have a bunch of radio repeaters, radio and television repeaters on top of this mountain. All we are seeing here are tremors here. This is the first time since I've been broadcasting this program where I've checked Santiago Peak. All we have are tiny tremors. Usually we also have minor earthquakes here at Santiago. Okay, Santiago Peak, LA. Let's continue to move here. Let's go over to southern Los Angeles, over to Watts, southeast LA, Watts. This is an area you don't want to go get caught in during the daylight or at night, okay, unless you're a gang member. If you're a gang member living in Watts, you don't want to be caught here, unless you're that. Here we are just seeing minor tremors here in Watts as well. Yes, we have had minor tremors here, and also minor earthquakes, 2.0, 2.5, 2.6, and 2.7 earthquakes here in Watts. Okay, one other place in Los Angeles I want to show you is also Volcano. We've shown you this before. I'm going to show you this right now. Here, Walnut La Puente. This is over in southeast Los Angeles County. Walnut La Puente. Two different communities sitting in a volcanic caldera. They're having earthquakes caused by magma down below the surface of the ground. This is why we're having earthquakes here. Wilson says Santiago Canyon, yes. But this is Walnut La Puente. We're seeing 3.0s, 3.5s, and upwards of 4.0 earthquakes here. You can see the tops and the bottom of these seismic signals being cut off. That's because the agency does not want us to see this true strength of these quakes. As it sits here, these larger quakes here are 3.0 earthquakes. But again, the top and the bottom of these sequences have been cut off, and that proves that they're large earthquakes. 3.5 small earthquakes up to 4.0 earthquakes here today. But again, the USGS will deny it. The seismograms don't deny it. They only show us what they want us to know. They don't show it on the USGS map. Heaven forbid. But these earthquakes are hitting here every day. Every day, guys. All day long. There is at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 3.0 and large earthquakes here. 16, 3.0 and large earthquakes here. Incredible. But again, the agency doesn't want us to know exactly how strong they are. I'm showing you that here. Let's move down to the Imperial Valley. Let's move down here to the Imperial Valley. Before we go off the air, I want to show you this. Okay? We have Juanito here monitoring our program here. I don't see him here in the chat right now. But I'm going to show you what is happening in El Centro, California. El Centro, California is about 50 miles south of the Salton Sea. Look at all these 3.0 plus earthquakes here. Look at all the 3.0, 3.3 earthquakes happening here. There's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 earthquakes here. 20 earthquakes, 3.0 and larger earthquakes here. Folks waved Juanito here. I'm sure he's still here. Usually when we come on the air, he stays with us. Juanito feels these earthquakes. Juanito and his family and other people living in El Centro feel these earthquakes. This is nothing new. This has been going on for over a year now. These earthquakes like this have been going on for over a year. Let's move on here. Okay. I want to go over to a town called Imperial. The town of Imperial, California. Imperial is just northeast of El Centro. Look what's happening here. Folks, this is a USGS sidegram showing Imperial, California. What they're showing here, you're already seeing here at the top. Okay, up here at the top, this seismic or this particular seismogram is showing you earthquakes after 2 p.m. last night, 2 p.m. yesterday afternoon. Already, you're seeing the tops and the bottoms of these earthquake sequences be cut off. As it shows here, over here after about 2:30 this yesterday afternoon, up at the top left, 2:30, the top and the bottom of that earthquake sequence was cut off. As it says here, it's at least a 2.6, 2.7. Cut off, it means this earthquake was substantially larger, at least a 3.0 to a 3.5 earthquake. You can also see tremors here. These minor tremors here on the lines, horizontal lines, represent 20 minutes of seismic activity. Each line, horizontal line here, represents about 20 minutes of seismic activity. The vertical lines are all earthquakes and tremors. Okay, what do we see here? Let's move down here. Now, first off, before we leave this top of this sequence here, notice after 6 p.m. Actually, after about 7. On the right-hand side, we can see 2.2 earthquakes here on the right-hand side. Then after that, all we see are basically flat lines, microquakes, and a few tremors. We don't really see anything happening after 7 p.m. last night until about 4:45, 5 a.m. this morning. What happened here? Why we're seeing this huge desolate area of information? That's because the agency basically turned down the seismograph. They turned down the seismograph so they're not reporting earthquakes. Used to be they didn't do that. Prior to a year ago, we saw earthquakes all day long here at Calipatria. All day long. All day long. Usually we've seen anywhere from 75 to 150 earthquakes here all day long here at Calipatria and Imperial for that matter. Look at these. Look at this. They cut off the top and the bottom of these earthquake sequences. One after 4:40, one after 5:15 this morning here on the left-hand side. The other after 5:45 on the left-hand side. Over here on the right, you see much the same thing after 6:45 and again after 7:15. 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes here in the Imperial Valley. At the town of Imperial. This is the town of Imperial, folks. This is the town of Imperial. I'm going to show you what Caltech has to show you here. Let me bring up the Caltech seismograph. Just a second here. Okay, guys, this is a seismogram from Caltech. The seismogram from Caltech doesn't show you half of the information that the USGS seismogram said. We have a lot more earthquakes on the USGS seismogram. But here, again, on that blue line here, let me enlarge it so you can see what we're talking about here. After 2300 last night, which is 11:30 p.m. here, the blue line represents 2330, 11:30. About 2 minutes after that, 11:32, we start having a good sized earthquake. Again, this is a lot larger than a 3.0 earthquake. What we're showing you here is 3.0 seismic energy, lasting about 2 to 3 minutes. 2 to 3 minutes of seismic energy. This was actually at least a 3.5, 4.0 earthquake. They cut off the top and the bottom so that we won't know exactly how strong it is, but it was at least a 3.5, 4.0 earthquake. This is what the agency does. They don't want us to know how strong these earthquakes are. So they lie to us. They lie to us. They've been doing it for an awful long time. That is the town of Imperial. Let's go up to Calipatria now. I show you Calipatria. I show you where Calipatria is over on the southeast side of the Salton Sea, just below the Salton Sea. Again, this is the USGS seismograph. This is the USGS seismograph. Okay, what are we seeing here? Again, we're seeing the same thing we saw over at the Imperial. Same kind of thing. We're seeing earthquakes here, but a lot more of them. Again, from about 9 or 7:30 until 5 a.m. Almost nothing happened. Almost nothing happened. All of a sudden, we're seeing these earthquakes. On this seismogram alone, we're seeing at least 70 earthquakes. As I said before, if they kept the seismogram on all night, or seismograph going all night, we'd see more and more earthquakes. But they turned the seismograph down, so we're not showing much of anything. So the tremors that we're seeing here probably are large earthquakes as well. The tremors you see here between 7:30 p.m. last night and 5 a.m. this morning were probably all large earthquakes. They just don't want us to know how big they are. Heaven forbid. Again, these earthquakes here are caused by the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault, guys. There is at least one other seismogram I want to show you here in the Imperial Valley. This one is over here in Holtville, California. This is over here in the southern Imperial Valley. Okay. There is a Salton Sea Desert Research Station here in Holtville. That's where the seismograph is located. In this particular seismograph here, all we're seeing here are tremors and minor earthquakes. They are showing some minor earthquakes here. This is what's happening in Southern California, guys. The San Andreas Fault is all locked up. The San Andreas Fault is all locked up. There is going to be a large earthquake happen. I can promise you that. It's coming. It's a matter of time. It is a matter of time. Now, I'm going to reduce the size of this USGS map real quick here. I want to show you something. Right here, on the northeast side of the Salton Sea is called North Shore Salton Sea. There are only tremors here at North Shore Salton Sea. I'm going to take you down to Bombay Beach. This right here is Bombay Beach. I showed you the seismogram here. The seismogram here is because we have a bunch of earthquakes happening here because of the San Andreas Fault. 3.03.5 earthquakes happening here because of the San Andreas Fault here at Bombay Beach. A lot of earthquakes happening here. Right here is Calipatria. This is Calipatria, California. Something that's very unique about Calipatria is this. Let me come over here. Right here. All over the Imperial Valley down here south of the Salton Sea. We have these boilers here. We have these boilers here. What are they? Men have tapped into the upper magma chambers of the Salton Butte volcano. Salton Butte volcano. They're tapping out of the Salton Butte volcano to obtain steam to power turbines here at the area of Calipatria here. These same boilers here, these same turbines are all over the Imperial Valley. There are 16 turbine facilities all over the Imperial Valley here. Literally all over the Imperial Valley. There's another one right there. There's another one right here. There's another one further south here. Let me see if I can find it here. Right there. There's another turbine facility right there. Again, they tap into the upper magma chambers of the Salton Butte volcano, which is over here on the south side of the Salton Sea. The Salton Butte volcano is right here. It's in the southern waters of the Salton Sea right here. Right there. The Salton Butte volcano. The Salton Butte volcano is an active volcano. And yes, it could erupt at any time. It could erupt massively. Why would it erupt massively? Catastrophically. Because, folks, even though the magma is at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, the water here is maybe at 120 degrees. When that magma lava hits the waters of the Salton Sea, it's going to explode. That's why we could have a massive explosion here from the Salton Butte volcano. That's why it could happen. Now, there are other turbines down here in the Imperial Valley here. Let me see if I can locate the turbines here. Folks, this is the north side of the U.S.-Mexico border, Mexicali. North of Mexicali, we have Heber, California. I also believe there's a turbine facility here in Heber. I don't see it here, but It might be right here. I don't, in fact, I know it's here. You can see the line of turbines right there. 7 or 8 turbines right there. That's one of the turbine facilities here. There are 16 of them all over the Imperial Valley. That's the same thing at the Coza Volcano. That's the same thing at the Geysers facility, 100 miles north of San Francisco in Sonoma, California. The Geysers facility. In fact, now they're showing one earthquake. An earthquake that just happened down here in Imperial County, Imperial, California. Look at that. This is a 1.5 tremor. See where the town of Imperial is right there? This is just north of Imperial, California. 1.5 tremor. There are over 500 tremors and earthquakes here in the Imperial Valley. 500 earthquakes daily here in the Imperial Valley. Up here in Los Angeles, there are over 300 to 400 earthquakes daily in Los Angeles area. A total of 800 earthquakes a day. Yet the USGS is saying that on the general map of the world, there are only 308 earthquakes worldwide. What a joke. They are lying through their teeth. They are lying through their teeth. They're also showing another earthquake that just happened here, just north of Escondido, California, up at Lake Henshaw. 7 kilometers southwest of Lake Henshaw. Let's zoom in here. That's where the earthquake happened. This isn't southwest, it's west of Lake Henshaw. Yes, there's an earthquake over here on the southern border of Lake Henshaw. This is a 0.3 microquake. This earthquake that just happened is west of Lake Henshaw over here. 1.7 tremor. Now further west over here. Further west here we see Escondido, California. I used to live in Escondido. I lived in central Escondido. I used to drive out here to Lake Henshaw to fish. I used to drive out here to Lake Henshaw to fish all the time. All the time. My old fishing spot. Does anybody have any questions for me? Do you guys have any questions for me at all? I will be happy to answer any questions right now. Yes, we had earthquakes down here in the lower Cascadia subduction zone area down here on the Gorda Escarpment. We had a 3.1 earthquake here, small 3.1 earthquake there. Just above that to the north, a 2.8, and then over here on the Mendocino Fault right here. This is the 2.0 earthquake here on the Mendocino Fault in Northern California. 2.0 right here, minor earthquake, and right here, this is a 1.6 tremor here on the Mendocino Fault. Okay. This area right here, as I explained, is the same kind of thing that's happening down in the Imperial Valley, south of the Salton Sea. This is a geothermal area just like they have there. This is in Sonoma, California. It's called the Geysers facility. The Geysers facility here in Sonoma County. Okay, they have the same kind of thing going on here. Let me see if I can zoom in and show you a bank of turbines here. They have banks of turbines here all over the place. Right here, for example, right there. There's a bank of turbines right there. There's another bank of turbines right there. There are 81 turbines all over the Geysers facility. 81 turbines at the Geysers facility here. Any questions? Jeremy's asking, would those facilities be affected by earthquakes and volcanoes? Yes, they would be. They very much would be. That's a good question. Thank you. I appreciate questions. There are no dumb questions, guys. I want to remind you that there are no dumb questions. These geothermal facilities would be affected by earthquakes and even the volcanoes themselves going off. If there were earthquakes going off, the geothermal facilities probably would be shut down to not damage, so their equipment would not be damaged. Because if their equipment was damaged by the earthquake, there could be an explosion. We don't want that to happen, do we? Kathy Payno says the roads melt in Utah, then dump trucks scatter small gravel, rocks all over the roads. Yes, they do. How do the roads melt? Heat. Right now, Utah is in the middle of a heat wave. Most of the nation is involved in the middle of a heat wave. All of us are. All of us are. Tonight, we're going to get hit with more rain. Every night for the past week, we've got hit with rain and thunderstorms. Yes, a thunderstorm has now moved into our area. Before we had partly cloudy skies, and now what do we have? Cloudy skies and dark clouds moving in. We're going to get hit with another thunderstorm here and more rain tonight. Unreal. Charlene is asking, how many volcanoes does Nevada and Arizona have? Arizona has over 600 volcanoes. I read the other day that Arizona has over 600 volcanoes and Nevada probably 400 volcanoes. Utah has about 30 volcanoes. Idaho has about 30 volcanoes. Jeremy Christopher says, what about nuclear facilities? Nuclear facilities would also be damaged by those earthquakes. Whenever we had an earthquake in Southern California, being from Los Angeles or San Diego, there was a nuclear facility north of San Diego County called San Onofre. They used to have to shut San Onofre down to make sure all the pipes and valves and everything else was still working. They had to shut San Onofre down every time we had a decent earthquake. By decent, I'm saying 3.5 to 5.4. Yes, we had some 5.4s and 5.6s in San Diego. We also had some 6.8, 6.9 earthquakes in Los Angeles. So San Onofre had to be shut down several times. I was there when it was shut down because I lived in San Diego County. Enola's here in the chat. Hello, Enola. It's good to see you. She said she's visited a bit, thinking the next few days all this rain is loosening up soil. Yes, it is. All this rain is loosening up soil in the area. From even northeastern part of the U.S. all the way south. All the way south into Florida. Rain, loosening up soil. Okay? If an earthquake happened now, we would have great big huge pockets of liquefaction, meaning sandy soil mixed with groundwater. You would sink in that soil. You'd sink in that quicksand. Liquefaction would be going on. Then the company says flash flood warning here in Virginia. Yes, actually Virginia's been having flash flood warnings for over a week now. All that moisture that's come up from Georgia, South and North Carolina has gone into Virginia and points north even up into Washington, D.C., and even Massachusetts. Those areas, those states have been having flash flood warnings because of the storms. Huge storms going through. I'm sure that's going to happen again tonight in Virginia. I'm sorry to hear that, Linda. Sorry to hear that. Stay safe. If you guys are involved with these thunderstorms and rain and flooding, be safe. Be safe. Make sure you're in the high ground area. Don't go out with your cars or walking in the high water. Please don't do that. Shirlene is asking all of Virginia, most of Virginia. Not all, but most of Virginia has had some kind of flooding. We've had flooding here in Morganton. Morganton here, we are in the foothills of North Carolina. We have rivers here. Rivers have had, with all this rain we've had here, we've had flash flooding here because rain has swollen the rivers. There's been more flooding here. Incredible. Wilson says flash floods all over the U.S. He's right. There have been. Central Midwest United States, guess what? Flash flooding everywhere. Now I forgot something. I was going to show you the new Madrid Fault. Guys, here, real quickly, I want to show you what's going on. This is Dell, Arkansas. Dell, Arkansas here this morning, late this morning. Look at this. Minor earthquakes. 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes this morning. One after, I want to say 10:23 this morning on the red line. On the black line before that, after 10:03, about a 2.7, 2.8. Then at 10:30 on the blue line. 10:30 this morning, a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Arkansas, Dell, Arkansas, guys, right next to the New Madrid Fault. Not just that. Let's look at Guam, Missouri. Look at Guam, Missouri this afternoon. Look at that, guys. Small earthquakes. Yes, we had some minor tremors, long duration tremors here after 12:15 this afternoon. Again, after 1:15. Okay. Minor earthquakes there. Long duration minor earthquakes. Then this afternoon after 2:30. Look at that. 3.0 earthquakes lasting over 2.5 minutes. 3.0 small earthquakes lasting over 2.5 minutes. Guam, Missouri. That's not all, folks. There's more. How about this morning at Guam, Missouri? Look at this. Minor earthquakes. 3.0 earthquakes after 1 a.m. this morning. 1:41 a.m. this morning. 3.0 earthquake activity. You can see the other earthquake activity happening all day long. Literally all day long. That's Guam, Missouri. It's the center of the new Madrid Fault. Now I want to take you to Portageville, Missouri. Look at this. Portageville, Missouri, guys. Here we're having minor earthquakes and 3.0 small earthquakes. Minor and small earthquakes here in Portageville, Missouri. This morning after 7:45 this morning. 7:45 this morning until 11:45 today, this morning. 7:45 to 11:45. Minor and small earthquakes hitting all this time period. How would you like to live near Portageville, Missouri, and feel the ground and floor shaking beneath you for that long? That long. 4 hours of constant shaking like this. No, it's not big enough to do anything but be a nuisance. Feeling the ground shaking beneath you. Portageville, Missouri. Guess what? That continued this afternoon as well. Look at this this afternoon there. Literally all afternoon long. All afternoon long here. Look at that. I pulled this seismogram just before I came on the air at 4. Look over here on the right-hand side. That is 3:13, 3:14 this afternoon. This is 3.0 earthquakes at least. At least a 3.0 earthquake, probably close to 3.5 earthquake here. Portageville, Missouri. Pires, Missouri, guys. Minor and small earthquakes literally all day long here. Hector Proctor is asking who gets the power from those turbines. Over in the Imperial Valley, it's Imperial Gas and Electric. Over in the Geysers facility in Sonoma County, there are 4 different energy conglomerates. One of them is Pacific Gas and Electric. Another one is Southern California Edison. Another one is Rocky Mountain Power in Utah. And I don't remember what the fourth power company is. Southern California Edison also has a geothermal plant over the Cozo volcano area in Southern California. Southern California Edison pulls power for Los Angeles at a Cozo volcano. Richard Smith is reporting a 1.9 tremor over in Fox, Alaska. 1.9, 2.0 earthquake in Fox, Alaska, which is central Alaska. Surgery is saying they have a bunch of monarch butterflies in the Santa Barbara Central Coast area of California. Unreal. Surgery is saying they haven't seen a single monarch butterfly in years up there in Logan, Utah area. I remember that. When I lived in south of Salt Lake City, about 30 miles south of Salt Lake in Sandy, there were a lot of monarch butterflies several years ago. I guess they died off now, unfortunately. Now this is Portisville, Missouri. Now today, USGS is showing a 2.7 earthquake on the new Madrid Fault in Ridgely, Tennessee. Ridgely, Tennessee. Look at this. This is Ridgely, Tennessee this morning. It's not just 2.7 earthquakes either. Over here in this blue line, over on the left-hand side, it would be 6:30. This is 6:47 a.m. this morning. This is a 3.0 earthquake here. Down here on this red line to the bottom, over on the left-hand side, it would be 10:15. This starts out with tremors at 10:15. It continues on through about 10:22 a.m. this morning with tremors. Then it quickly turns into minor earthquakes, 2.0, 2.5, and then it turns into a 3.0 earthquake sequence, small 3.0 sequence. And then you can see the top and the bottom of this sequence have been cut off, meaning that these earthquakes were actually larger here. Folks, this is Ridgely, Tennessee. Again, the United States Geological Survey is wrong with what they're saying. Yes, we had some 3.0 activity. Look out here to the right of that 3.0 earthquake activity. That is a secondary wave. The secondary wave lasted 1, 2, 3.5 full minutes. 3.5 full minutes, which means that seismic energy you see cut off here was probably a 4.0 moderate earthquake. The secondary wave shows us that what the USGS is telling us is wrong. It's larger than that. Probably closer to a 4.0 moderate earthquake. Ridgely, Tennessee today. That's this morning. That's this morning. This is Ridgely, Tennessee this afternoon. Mostly minor tremors here. Minor tremors. Now you see that earthquake after 1 o'clock? That has nothing to do with Ridgely, Tennessee. Let me show you where that came from. Let me show you where that came from. Let's go back to the USGS map real quick here. Folks, there was a 5.8 earthquake over northern Greenland right there. A 5.8 earthquake earlier this afternoon. That's where that earthquake came from. You saw that squiggly sequence on several seismograms today? That was that same 5.8 earthquake here in northern Greenland. That's what happens. The seismograms around the world are picking up, the seismographs around the world are picking up the shaking and showing it on the seismographs. That's what's going on. Also, something else you need to know. Down here in the Kermadec Islands north of New Zealand, this is a 5.7 earthquake here. This earthquake hit at 5:54 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. 5.7 earthquake down here in the Kermadec Islands, north of New Zealand here. South of New Zealand, there was another 5.5 here. They've taken it down. They've taken it down. Okay, over here in the Indian Ocean here. This is just north of the Antarctic Ridge. This is a 4.7 earthquake here, near the Mauritius Islands, the Mauritus Islands, down here in the Indian Ocean. A 4.7 earthquake here. It's on the earthquake fault. That seismic energy will be going north here and probably go into either Yemen here or even over here into Iran. That's where I think we're going to see more earthquakes even in the next few days. The USGS is only showing one earthquake here in Tajikistan. It's a 4.3 earthquake, 10 kilometers deep. They're showing one earthquake over here in northwestern Iran. This is a 4.6. 4.6. They're not showing anything else here in Europe at all. Nothing. Nothing in the Middle East, nothing in Europe at all. USGS is lying through their teeth. Lying through their teeth. Over here in the Syria-Turkey border region, there are 43 earthquakes right here. Right there. They're not showing us those either. There are earthquakes galore in northern Turkey, southern Turkey, and western Turkey here. There are 24 earthquakes here in Greece. In Greece. They're not showing that. Earthquakes over here in Sicily and southern Italy. Earthquakes over here, right here. We have Vesuvius volcano that's trying to erupt here. It's already putting out steam right there. You can see it. You can see it here. Earthquakes hitting this area as well. USGS not showing any of them. Earthquakes here in north central Italy here. They're not showing any of those. Earthquakes all over northern Italy, the Alps mountains in Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and over here in France. Earthquakes in southern northern Spain here. Not showing any of those. Why not? Why not? Earthquakes. They're showing 2 earthquakes here in South America. That's a joke. There are 42 earthquakes here in South America. Most of those earthquakes are here in Chile, Argentina area. Up here, Chile, Bolivia area here. We have a 4.2 earthquake, moderate earthquake here at the Chile-Argentine border area here. 4.2 moderate earthquake here. Up here to the north, southern Peru, a 4.2 earthquake here. There are 42 earthquakes here in South America, and they're only showing 2. What a joke. What a joke. There are 13 or 14 earthquakes here in Central America, and as I said before, there are 42 earthquakes here in southern Mexico. They're not showing. The United States Geological Survey is a joke. They're a joke. They're hardly showing any information at all. Now, Ann Pickering has asked me a question. Just a second, let me bring up our webcam here so I can talk to you. Ann Pickering has asked, Ron, did you say last week to expect large earthquakes, and it is starting? Yes, we've had some large earthquakes because of solar flares. Large 5.0, 5.4, 5.5 earthquakes. And yesterday, we had our first 6. Now we're having 5.8 earthquakes north of Greenland. We're having 5.7 earthquakes over there in the Kermadec Islands. We're having 5.0 earthquakes over in Indonesia. All over. We've had a 5.0 earthquake in the Izu Islands southeast of Japan, another 5.0 earthquake over north of Hokkaido in the Kuril Islands between Japan and the Kamchatka Peninsula. That's the second 5.0 earthquake we've had in the last 2 days. That's what's happening. It's going to continue. It's going to continue. Sweet Polly Purebred is asking, Ron, why are the animals leaving Yellowstone Park area and migrating to Utah? Why? Because they can sense when something's going to happen. No, there is not going to be a Yellowstone volcanic eruption. There's not going to be a Yellowstone volcanic eruption, but that does not mean there's not going to be earthquakes. I believe these animals are sensing seismic energy going, and I believe it's actually happening. And they're leaving the area. Wolves are going to Utah. We have bears and also antelope. We have bison migrating over into central Wyoming and Montana as well. They're getting out of Yellowstone. They're getting out of Yellowstone. Ashley says her neighbors hate her. Your neighbors don't hate you, Ashley. You're a good lady. Does anybody have any questions about anything we talked about? Yes, milkweed is hard to get rid of. They have a pesticide you can, or not a pesticide, but a herbicide you can use, but I wouldn't use it. Milkweed's harder than ever to get rid of. It's an obnoxious weed. Yes, I believe you could use a vinegar, a baking soda brew. You can spray on those milkweed, and it'll probably help get rid of them. Vinegar is an acid, and together with the soda in the water, mix it with water and put it in a hand sprayer and spray that milkweed. It might help get rid of them. Jeremy Christopher says solar flares put energy in the earth. You're right. Plasma radiation out of the sun goes like this. Plasma radiation radiating from the sun, and it envelopes the earth just like this. The plasma energy goes through our magnetosphere that has been weak for years and years now, goes through the magnetosphere into our atmosphere and hits the surface of the earth, goes through the tectonic plates into the core of the earth, heats up the earth. When it heats up the tectonic plates, all that gunk and grime that's been holding those plates in place, I'm talking sand, dirt, gravel, dead plants, biological material, all that turns to a oily, greasy-like substance, and then the plates and the faults more freely move just like that. That's what happens. That's why we have earthquakes. Yes, Polly, I will be truthful to everybody. I don't tell lies. I tell it like it is. I tell it like it is. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I'm going to give you a little bit of spiritual information here. At the end of every broadcast, I talk about spirituality. I talk from the scriptures a lot. Today's devotional here comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 35. This is Paul talking to the Corinthians, and for all intents and purposes, Paul's talking to us. Verse 35, it reads, "And now this I speak for your own profit, not that I may cast a snare upon you, but for that which is comely." Comely means good. "And that ye may attend upon the Lord without distraction." That ye may attend upon the Lord without distraction. All that means is we need to pay more attention to Jesus Christ. We need to pay more attention to the scriptures. We need to be more spiritually in tune with our Savior. Pray, read the scriptures. Praying and reading the scriptures, and also heeding to the promptings that you get from the Holy Ghost. That will get you further than anything else. That will get you further than anything else. And Pickering says, "You have a good program, Ron. With knowing what you know, Ron, you are brilliant, and I have no idea until I first saw you." And thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. Now, again, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. Folks, YouTube keeps unsubscribing people. So if you have not already subscribed to our program, please subscribe to this program. If you have been subscribed to this program, make sure you're still subscribed. And when you subscribe, you may have to resubscribe. When you subscribe, also there's something else you need to do besides clicking on the subscribe button. Right next to it is a little bell icon. Click on that little bell icon. When you do that, a drop-down menu of 3 items is going to come up. Click on the word ALL. That should get you notified when they come on the air. There's something else as well. Click on that little thumbs up button as well. Make sure you tell YouTube that you like what you're seeing here. Make sure you tell YouTube you like what you're seeing here by clicking on that little bell icon. Something else. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen here, you see our PayPal and our Venmo locations. Folks, we need your help in supporting this program. You can send donations through Venmo or PayPal here. Also, our email address here is rltnspdema@gmail.com. You can send us comments. You can send us questions. You can send us criticism to our email. Right below this video we're showing today, after we get off the air, there will be a comment section. You can leave your comments there as well. Okay? Also, we have our address here, our mailing address, 504 Bethel Road, Box 401, Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code here is 28655. Carol and I love to receive cards and letters. We haven't received a card and letter for a very long time. Please send us cards and letters, and you can even send us donations in the middle of your card or letter. If you send a letter, wrap your letter around your donation. That way nobody sees the donation in the envelope. If you send us a card, slip the donation inside your card, and you can send the card to us as well. We'd love seeing your cards and letters. Tell us what you're doing preparedness-wise. Tell us how you are preparing and the successes that you're seeing. We want to talk about emergency preparedness. We talk about a lot of disasters and emergencies, political-wise and natural disasters happening all over the world. Yeah, all over the world. Folks, we want to know how you're preparing. Linda Covington says you can also join us. Yes, you can. At the top of our program description, right below this video here, you'll see a link how you can join this channel as a member of our channel. Join here as a member of our channel. Again, I think sometime between now and Friday, we're going to do a members only video. Carol may also be in that video, so you might see it. You might see her too. But we do members only videos, 1, to have fun, and 2, to talk about things we could not put on the air. Talk about things we could not let everybody else know about. Guys, I love you. I care about each one of you. I really do. We appreciate all of you here that have joined us here on the chat today. We hope you subscribe to our channel as well. Jeremy, it's great to see you here. Jeremy Christopher's here. Carmen Maria Cortez Marin is here as well. She said, sorry I stopped watching and started prayers and scripture reading. Just got back. I will watch replay later. Thank you, Carmen, for that. We appreciate you very much. God bless you. God bless all of you. God bless each and every one of you. If anything happens tonight or in the morning, we'll be back on there to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. If not, we'll see you tomorrow evening, same time, same station, just after 4 p.m. tomorrow evening. We'll be here. I ask God to bless you. May God be with you this day and always. We love each and every one of you. I will be checking in with Rob 52. He wasn't here on the chat tonight. I think he may have either not found out about our broadcast because, again, he gets unsubscribed all the time by YouTube. We might want to start praying for Don Patoka. He's one of our mods. We haven't had him in here for almost a week now. Don has some health problems. We need to pray for him. We also need to pray for everyone who is a member of our EMA family. God bless you. Pray for even Heather's dog. Pray for each one of us, guys. Each one of us are having our issues. Sleeping Volcano is also not here. She's been very ill. Pray for her as well. She had a bad fall early last weekend. She needs our prayers as well. Pray for everybody here, guys. We all need your help and prayers. God bless you. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Much love. See you soon.